Yeah, something like that. I'm Thundercloud, here at Seahorse Medicine Cafe at the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame. Washing away the garbage, living rainbows after rain. Yeah, and that's what we're in for. Tomorrow, yes, that's right. Welcome to Chillin Tuesday on the 25th of June, 2024. It's Tuesday, of course, because it's Chillin Tuesday. Poetcast, yeah, we got the poetry just for you. I got the poetry for just for you because there's just me here and a seahorse. All right, what have I got for you tonight? We've got a little bit, I've got to stop talking in the third person. I've got Banjo Paterson, singer of the bush. I'm going to be working my way through 1889 and 1890 poetry of Banjo Paterson and into 1891 as well. So I've got quite a few to get through. As well as that, later on, I might even read you a little bit out of my Poetry to End Prohibition book, which is available on Amazon, and a couple that I've written in the last, I don't know, hour maybe, or day or whatever, recently, just for you. Yeah. Anyway, great news today. Julian Assange has been freed, and yeah, that is fantastic. Political comment, that's all I'm going to say. I could comment on Peter Dutton's son, which I might do later when I'm reading Poetry to End Prohibition, which is all about harm minimisation and ending the punitive model of justice associated with personal drug use. All right. First of all, tonight, from Banjo Paterson, I've got On Kiley's Run. The roving breezes come and go on Kiley's Run. The sleepy river murmurs low, and far away one dimly sees, beyond the stretch of forest trees, beyond the foothills, dusk and dun, the rangers sleeping in the sun on Kiley's Run. 'Tis many years since first I came to Kiley's Run. More years than I would care to name, for I, a stripling, used to ride for miles and miles at Kiley's side. The while in stirring tones he told the stories of the days of old on Kiley's Run. I see the old bush homestead now on Kiley's Run, just nestled down beneath the brow of one small ridge above the sweep of river flat, where willows weep, and jasmine flowers and roses bloom. The air was laden with perfume on Kiley's Run. We lived the good old station life on Kiley's Run. With little thought of care or strife, old Kiley seldom used to roam. He liked to make the run his home. The swagman never turned away, with empty hand at close of day from Kiley's Run. We kept a racehorse now and then on Kiley's Run, and neighbouring stations brought their men to meetings where the sport was free, and dainty ladies came to see their champions ride. With laugh and song the old house rang the whole night long on Kiley's Run. The station hands were friends, I wot, on Kiley's Run. A reckless, merry-hearted lot, all splendid riders, and they knew the boss was kindness through and through. Old Kiley always stood their friend, and so they served him to the end on Kiley's Run. But droughts and losses came apace to Kiley's Run, till ruin stared him in the face. He toiled and toiled while lived the light. He dreamed of overdrafts at night. At length, because he could not pay, his bankers took the stock away from Kiley's Run. Old Kiley stood and saw them go from Kiley's Run. The well-bred cattle marching slow, his stockman mates, for many a day they wrung his hand and went away. Too old to make another start, old Kiley died of broken heart on Kiley's Run. The owner lives in England now of Kiley's Run. He knows a racehorse from a cow, but that is all he knows of stock. His chiefest care is how to dock expenses and he sends from town to cut the shearers' wages down on Kiley's Run. There are no neighbours anywhere near Kiley's Run. The hospitable homes are bare, the garden's gone for no pretence, must hinder cutting down expense. The homestead that we held so dear contains a half-paid overseer on Kiley's Run. All life and sport and hope have died on Kiley's Run. No longer there the stockmen ride, for sour-faced boundary riders creep on mongrel horses after sheep. Through ranges where at racing speed old Kiley used to wheel the lead on Kiley's Run. There runs a lane for 30 miles through Kiley's Run. On either side the herbage smiles, but wretched travelling sheep must pass without a drink or blade of grass. Through that long lane of death and shame the wary drovers curse the name of Kiley's Run. The name itself is changed of late, of Kiley's Run. They call it Chandos Park Estate. The lonely swagman through the dark must hump his swag past Chandos Park. The name is English, don't you see? The old name sweeter sounds to me of Kiley's Run. I cannot guess what fate will bring to Kiley's Run. For chances come and chances ring, I scarcely think 'twill always be locked up to suit an absentee. And if he lets it out in farms, his tenants soon will carry arms on Kiley's Run. That was first published in the Bulletin on the 20th of December, 1890. That's, kind of a sad tale, very romantic in the beginning, and then, typical of what happened to so many farms. Conroy's Gap is the next one. This was the way of it, don't you know? Ryan was wanted for stealing sheep, and never a trooper, high or low, could find him catch a weasel or sleep. Till Trooper Scott from the Stockman's Ford, a bushman too, and I've heard them tell, chanced to find him drunk as a lord, round at the Shadow of Death Hotel. You know the place? It's a wayside inn, a low grog shanty, a bushman trap, hiding away in its shame and sin, under the shelter of Conroy's Gap, under the shade of that frowning range, the roughest crowd that ever drew breath, thieves and rowdies, uncouth and strange, were mustered round at the Shadow of Death. The trooper knew that his man would slide like a dingo pup if he saw the chance, and with half a start, on the mountain side, Ryan would lead him a merry dance. Drunk as he was when the trooper came, to him that did not matter a rap. Drunk or sober, he was the same, the boldest rider in Conroy's Gap. "And I want you, Ryan," the trooper said, "and listen to me, if you dare resist, so help me heaven, I'll shoot you dead." And he snapped the steel on his prisoner's wrist, and Ryan, hearing the handcuffs click, recovered his wits as they turned to go, for fright will sober a man as quick as all the drugs that the doctors know. There was a girl in that rough bar that went by the name of Kate Carew, quiet and shy as bush girls are, but ready-witted and plucky too. She loved this Ryan, or so they say, and passing by while her eyes were dim, with tears she said in a careless way, "The swagman's round in the table, Jim." Spoken too low for the trooper's ear, why should she care if he heard or not? Plenty of swagmen far and near, and yet to Ryan it meant a lot. That was the name of the grandest horse in all the district from east to west. In every show ring, on every course, They always counted the swagman best. He was a wonder, a raking bay, one of the grand old Snowden strain, one of the sort that could race and stay with his mighty limbs and his length of rein. Born and bred on the mountainside, he could race through scrub like a kangaroo. The girl herself on his back might ride, and the swagman would carry her safely through. He would travel gaily from daylight's flush till after the stars hung out their lamps. There was never his like in the open bush, and never his match in the cattle camps. The faster horses might well be found on racing tracks or a plain's extent, but few, if any, on broken ground could see the way that the swagman went. When this girl's father, old Jim Caroo, was droving out on the Castle Ray with Conroy's cattle, a wire came through to say that his wife couldn't live the day, and he was 100 miles from home, as flies the crow with never a track, through plains as pathless as ocean's foam. He mounted straight on the swagman's back. He left the camp by the sundown light and the settlers out on the Martha Guy. Awoke and heard by the dead of night a single horseman hurrying by. He crossed the Bogan at Dandaloo, and many a mile of the silent plain that lonely rider behind him through before they settled to sleep again. He rode all night and he steered his course by the shimmering stars with the bushman's skill, and every time that he pressed his horse, the swagman answered him gamely still. He neared his home as the east was bright. The doctor met him outside the town. "Caroo, how far did you come last night? 100 miles since the sun went down?" And his wife got round, and an oath he passed, so long as he or one of his breed could raise a coin, though it took their last, the swagman should never want to feed. And Kate Caroo, when her father died, she kept the horse and she kept him well. The pride of the district far and wide, he lived in style at the Bush Hotel. Such was the swagman, and Ryan knew nothing about could pace the crack. Little he'd care for the man in blue if once he got the swagman back. But how to do it? A word let fall. Give him the hint as the girl passed by. Nothing but swagman, stable, wall. Go to the stable and mind your eye. He caught the meaning and quickly turned to the trooper. "Reckon you'll gain a strike by arresting me, and it's easily. Let's go to the stable and get my pipe. The swagman has it." So off they went, and as soon as ever they turned their backs, the girl slipped down on some errand bent behind the stable and seized an axe. The trooper stood at the stable door, while Ryan went in, quite cool and slow. And then the trick had been played before. The girl outside gave the wall a blow. 3 slabs fell out of the stable wall. 'Twas done forever, the trooper knew. And Ryan, as soon as he saw them fall, mounted the swagman and rushed him through. The trooper heard the hoof beats ring in the stable yard. He slammed the gate, but the swagman rose with a mighty spring at the fence, and the trooper fired too late. As they raced away, and his shots flew wide, and Ryan no longer need care a rap, for never a horse that was lapped in hide could catch the swagman in Conroy's Gap. And that's the story you want to know. If Ryan came back to his Kate Caroo, of course he should have, as stories go. But the worst of it, this story is true, and in real life it's a certain rule, whatever poets and authors say, of high-toned robbers and all their school. Those horse thief fellows aren't built that way. Come back, don't hope it, the slinking hound. He slopped across to the Queensland side and sold the swagman for £50, and stole the money and more beside, and took to drink, and by some good chance was killed, thrown out of a stolen trap, and that was the end of his small romance, the end of the story of Conroy's Gap. And that was published in the Bulletin on the 20th of December, 1890. Then Banjo wrote a few short stories like The Mulligans, The Downfall of the Mulligans. But then here we go, Come by Chance, Come by Chance. On the 21st of March, 1891, this was published in the Bulletin, Come by Chance, by Banjo Paterson. As I pondered very weary o'er a volume long and dreary, for the plot was void of interest, 'twas that postal guide, in fact. There I learnt the true location, distance, size and population of each township, town and village in the radius of the Act. I learnt that Puckawidge stands beside the Murrumbidgee, and that Booleroy and Bumble get their letters twice a year. Also that the post inspector, when he visited collector, closed the office up instanter and reopened Dungalia. But my languid mood forsook me when I found a name that took me. Quite by chance I came across it. Come by chance was what I read. No location was assigned it, not a thing to help one find it, just a N which stood for northward, and the rest was all unsaid. I shall leave my home and forthward wander stoutly to the northward, till I come by chance across it, and I'll straightway settle down. For there can't be any hurry, not the slightest cause for worry, where the telegraph don't reach you, nor the railways run to town. And one's letters and exchanges come by chance across the ranges, where a wiry young Australian leads a pack horse once a week. And the good news grows by keeping, and you're spared the pain of weeping over bad news when the mailman drops the letters in the creek. But I fear, and more's the pity, that there really's no such city, for there's not a man can find it of the shrewdest folk I know. Come by chance, be sure it never means a land of fierce endeavour. It's just the careless country where the dreamers only go. Though we work and toil and hustle in our life of haste and bustle, all that makes our life worth living comes unstriven for and free. Men may weary and importune, but the fickle goddess Fortune deals him out his pain or pleasures, careless what his worth may be. All the happy times embracing days of sport and nights of dancing, moonlight rides and stolen kisses, pouting lips and loving glance. When you think of these, be certain you have looked behind the curtain. You have had the luck to linger just a while and come by chance. Next one's called In the Droving Days. Only a pound, said the auctioneer. Only a pound, and I'm standing here selling this animal, gain or loss. Only a pound for the drover's loss. One of a sort that was never afraid, one of the boys of the old brigade, thoroughly honest and game, I swear, only a little worse for wear. Plenty as bad to be seen in the town. Give me a bid and I'll knock him down. Stand, sold as he stands and without recourse. Give me a bid for the drover's horse. Loitering there in an aimless way, somehow I noticed the poor old grey, weary and battered and screwed, of course. Yet when I noticed the old grey horse, the rough bush saddle and single rein of the bridle laid on his tangled mane, straightway the crowd and the auctioneer seemed on a sudden to disappear, melted away in a kind of haze, for my heart went back to the droving days. Back to the road, and I crossed again over the miles of saltbush plain, the shipping plain that is said to be the dried up bed of an inland sea, where the air, so dry and so clear and bright, refracts the sun with a wondrous light, and out in the dim horizons makes the deep blue gleam of the phantom lakes. At dawn of day we would feel the breeze that stirred the boughs of the sleeping trees and brought a breath of fragrance rare that comes and goes in that scented air. For the trees and grass and shrubs contain a dry sweet scent on the saltbush plain. For those that love it and understand, the saltbush plain is a wonderland, a wondrous country where nature's ways were revealed to me in the droving days. We saw the fleet wild horses pass and the kangaroos through the Mitchell grass. The emu ran with a frightened brood, all unmolested and unsurprised. There rose a shout from the wild hubbub when the dingo raced for his native scrub. And he paid right dear for the stolen meals with the drover's dogs at his wretched heels, for he ran him down at a rattling pace while the pack horse joined in the stirring chase. And a wild halloo at the kill we'd raise, we were light of heart in the droving days. 'Twas a drover's horse, and my hand again made a move to close on a fancied rein. For I left the swing and the easy ride, and the grand old horse that I used to ride in drought or plenty or good or ill. That same old steed was my comrade still. That old grey horse with his honest ways was a mate for me in the droving days. When we kept our watch in the cold and damp, if the cattle broke from the sleeping camp over the flats and across the plain, with my head bent down on his waving mane, through the boughs above and the stumps below, on the darkest night I would let him go. At a racing speed he would choose his course, and my life was safe with the old grey horse. But man and a horse had a favourite job. When an outlaw broke from a station mob, with a right good will was the stockwhip plied, as the old horse raced at the straggler's side. And the greenhide whip such a wheel would raise, we could use the whip in the droving days. Only a pound, this was the end, only a pound for the drover's friend. The drover's friend that had seen his day and now was worthless and cast away. With a broken knee and a broken heart, to be flogged and starved on a hawker's cart, well, I made a bid for a sense of shame and the memories dear of the good old game. Thank you, guinea and cheap, all that, against you there in the curly hat. Only a guinea and one more chance. Down he goes if there's no advance. Third and the last time. 1, 2, 3, and the old grey horse was knocked down to me. And now he's wandering fat and sleek on the Lucerne flats by the Homestead Creek. I dare not ride him for fear he'd fall. But he does a journey to beat 'em all. For though he scarcely a trot can raise, he can take me back to the droving days. Very good. Published in the Bulletin on the 21st of June, 1891. All right, if you're liking this, why don't you give it a thumbs up now and leave a comment down below. Tell me what's been your favourite poem so far. It all helps the metrics, and that means that we can get Australian poetry out to the world. Okay, coming up at the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame, we've got workshops, poetry slam workshops, and the Australian Poetry Slam Heat, Guyra Heat here on the 14th and 15th of August. So get writing. It's got to be 2 minutes. Get practicing too. We're going to have some workshops as well, so you can get written and practiced. Then you've got 2 minutes to deliver a poem from memory, and then you get judged by the audience too. So the winner, of course, the 2 winners from the heat get to go all the way to Sydney. How fantastic is that? That is really cool. All right, let's move on to Poetry to End Prohibition now. Yeah, look, this week in Australia. Okay, so what are we up to now? So I put Banjo Paterson down for a moment, and I've come to this one here, Poetry to End Prohibition. Yes, this was my book published in 2020, the 420 edition, and it's all about harm minimisation and ending the punitive justice model where anyone who takes any kind of illegal drugs can get locked up and fined and punished. Now, it doesn't help anyone, and that was the whole reason I wrote this book. It was dedicated to a young man called Daniel Walmsley, who overdosed in Nimbin. Started on a cold Friday, the drumming circle, dance and play. All the families were gathered round, barefoot on the cold, hard ground. Drummers drumming, having fun, stomping feet. Down goes the sun. Fires burning in the parks, shooting stars and burning sparks. Rhythmic hands all beat it out, the drumming circle dance about. Nimbin on a Friday night, drum and dance by firelight. They bring their drums out to the street where dancing feet move to the beat. Dreadlocks, smokes it clean and green, he beats his blue drum with the team. Down by the fire at the oasis, there's lots of friends and friendly faces. Try this hit, it won't hurt you. He overdoses, starts to spew, starts the walk to hospital. I'm ODing, he starts to call. Falls down on the cold, hard ground. His vomit, he starts to drown. Nurses, passers by, all thump on his heart. They start to pump. Call an ambulance, they cry. Daniel, Daniel, please don't die. CPR, the people start. Giving breath and pumping heart. Police and ambulance arrive. For 45 minutes we all tried. Sun comes up. Cold Saturday. Daniel's soul flies away, leaving behind broken hearts of drawings and paintings of Daniel's arts overdosed on cold concrete, laying dead with cold, bare blue feet. In Prohibition right now today, harm minimisation saves lives, I say. Laying on the cold, hard ground, his heart stopped and just shut down. His life might be a memory, but let's end prohibition for all our safety. Now, what's prompted me to get this out? Well, as you probably, if you've seen the news or your Facebook feed, that the opposition leader Peter Dutton's adult son has been photographed holding a bag with white powder in it at his 18th birthday. So I would like to say respect to Peter Dutton's son for having a try of some Coke on his birthday, if it was Coke or whatever, like a lot of people have. And I don't think there are many people who haven't tried an intoxicant on their birthday or been given intoxicants. My parents. So, first of all, my parents are not responsible for the use of drugs, my use of drugs as an adult. In the same way, Peter Dutton is not responsible for the drug use of his son as an adult. Not that it should matter to anyone, except perhaps a saint, because there are very few people who haven't tried or aren't addicted to drugs, be they legal, illegal, prescribed, alcohol, tobacco, or unhealthy food addiction, or YouTube, TikTok shorts, videos addiction. Surely a harm minimisation approach is better than a punitive approach. What, should we just punish people for being addicted to TikTok? No, I don't think so. So yeah, anyone who wants to shame the Duttons ought to take a long, hard look at themselves. So anyway, that's my political comment for the night. Right, now have I got a poem for you? Oh well, look, I'm going to have a sip of my matcha green tea here, with caffeine and L-theanine. Japanese matcha green tea. It's good for you and also me. With L-theanine and caffeine, keeps my mind sharp and keen. Antioxidants for health, bright green, the colour of wealth. To all live longer lives, reduce oxidative stress to thrive with polyphenols and catechins. Get some chlorophyll within. One serve has only calories. 3, drink Japanese matcha green tea. Yeah, well, there you go. That was one that I wrote a little earlier today. So, what else have I got? Got another poem for you of my own. Why, oh, why would a high-valued guy buy a clapped-out car? Oh, well, that's one. Yeah, that's a Thundercloud quote. That one. All right. Here we go. In the United States, they have overt sex discrimination against men, with all 18 to 24-year-old men being forced into the military draft. Now, forcing men to kill doesn't really seem right when women sit home and get to watch the war on TV. So, in the name of equality of opportunity, either women ought to be drafted as well as men, or the draft needs to be ended altogether. Another political comment of mine. Okay, here we go. Playing video games is like wanking the brain, habitual addiction to puzzles and pictures again and again. The choice, take the helm, become your own boss. As death approaches, you can never recover time wasted or lost. Imagine at the end of your life, your main memories are of time wasted playing video games. You would have no one but yourself to blame. That's right. Hey. Yeah. All right, and we got one more. Here we go. This was called Boom, Crackle, Slam, and my brain cracked open. Played the high C, my pineal unbroken. Norm the cat was hungry. Here, Norm, have some fish. Reggae music blasting, melodic here in my mouth. See, whoosh, wham, bam, slam. Now, in a parallel universe, in another land, different but the same, and the difference being the crack in my brain. Rush of adrenaline, bliss, joy, not sad, run out, kiss and hug my dad. I love my dad and my mum, my 3 sons. I appreciate everyone. Back to my brain. What's going on in my head? The universe is more saner than sane. A cupboard fell off the wall and I'm not dead. It cracked open my brain. Had been working hard to detoxify, cleanse, to open my pineal, exercise, yoga, sit, meditate, and kneel. In an unexpected instant, a shock. This is how it feels? Who would have thought that when the thunderstorm struck, the result would be? Who would have thought that when the thunderstorm struck, the result would be that my mind would become unfucked, pineal uncalcified, so that my intuition awoken. What luck! Boom, slam, crackle, wham, bam, slam. Journeyman, traveller of life's ways, adventure, inspiration, and creativity awaits. Thank you, man. Okay, yeah, all right. That's a bit of Thundercloud poetry for you tonight. And that's actually this story of just a couple of days after the roof blew off my house. I was cleaning up the house, and I went to feed the cat Norm. And I fed him, and I picked up my melodica and played the high C and walked away. And as I hit the high C, a big cupboard fell off the wall where I'd just been standing like 20 seconds earlier. And a big rush of kundalini went up, my brain cracked open, and yeah, something like that. Anyway, a few days later, I decided to buy a double-decker bus, and I went travelling, and I ended up in Nimbin, and then that brought me to here. So that was pretty lucky. The Flying Gang by Banjo Paterson, the railroad song. I served my time in the days gone by in the railways clash and clang, and I worked my way to the end, and I was the head of the flying gang. As a chosen band that was kept at hand in case of an urgent need. Was it south or north? We were started forth and away at our utmost speed. If word reached town, the bridge was down, the imperious summons rang. Come out with the pilot engine sharp, and away with the flying gang. Then a piercing scream and a rush of steam as the engine moved ahead. With a measured beat by the slum and street of the busy town we fled. By the uplands bright and the homesteads white, with the rush of the western gale, and the pilot swayed with the pace we made, and she rocked on the ring and rail. And the country's children clapped their hands, and the engine's echoes rang. But their elders said there is work ahead when they send for the flying gang. Then across the miles of the saltbush plain that gleamed with the morning dew, where the grasses waved like the ripening grain, the pilot engine flew. A fiery rush in the open bush where the great muck seemed to fly, and the orders sped on the wires ahead, the pilot must go by. The governor's special must stand aside, and the fast express go hang. Let your orders be that the line is free for the boys of the flying gang. Yeah, there we go, Flying Gang. That was published in the Bulletin on the 18th of July, 1891. Next one by Banjo Paterson on the 1st of August, 1891, published in the Bulletin. It's called The Lost Drink. I'd spent the night in the watch house. My head was the size of 3. So I went and asked the chemist to fix up a drink for me. And he brewed it from various bottles with soda and plenty of ice, with something that smelt like lemon and something that seemed like spice. It fell on my parching palate like the dew on a sun-baked plain, and my system began to flourish like the grass in the soft spring rain. It wandered through my being, suffusing my soul with rest, and I felt as I scoffed that liquid that life had a newfound zest. I've been on the razzle-dazzle full many a time since then, but I never could get the chemist to brew me that drink again. He says he's forgotten the notion, 'twas only by chance it came. He tried me with various liquids, but they are not the same. We sought it vainly, that one lost drink divine. We have sampled his various bottles, but somehow they don't combine. Yet I know when I cross the river and I stand on the golden shore, I shall meet with an angel chemist to brew me that drink once more. All right, the next one is An Evening in Dandaloo by Banjo Paterson. It was while we held our races, hurdle sprints and steeple chases up in Dandaloo, that a crowd of Sydney steelers, jockeys, pugilists and spielers brought some horses, real heelers, came and put us through, beat our nags and won our money, made the game by no means funny, made us rather blue when the racing was concluded, of our hard-earned coin denuded. Dandaloonies sat and brooded there in Dandaloo. Night came down on Johnson's shanty, where the grog was no means scanty, and a tumult grew till some wild, excited person galloped down the township cursing. Sydney push of Mob Macpherson, roll up Dandaloo. Great St. Denis, what commotion, like the rush of stormy ocean, fiery horsemen flew. Dust and smoke and din and rattle, down the street they spurred their cattle, to the war cry of the battle, wade in Dandaloo. So the boys might have their fight out. Johnson blew the barroom light out, then in haste withdrew, and in the darkness and in doubting, raged the conflict and the shouting, give the Sydney push a clouting, go it Dandaloo. Jack Macpherson seized a bucket, every head he saw he struck it, struck in earnest too, and a man from Lower Wattle, whom a shearer tried to throttle, hit out freely with a bottle, there in Dandaloo. Skin and hair were flying thickly when a light was fetched and quickly brought a fact to view. On the scene of the diversion, every single solid person came along to help Macpherson. All were Dandaloo. When the list of slain was tabled, some were drunk and some disabled, still we found it true. In the darkness and the smother, we'd been belting one another. Jack Macpherson bashed his brother there in Dandaloo. So we drank and all departed. How the mobbing yarn was started, no one ever knew. And the stockmen tell the story of that conflict, fierce and gory, how we fought for love and glory up in Dandaloo. It's a proverb now, or near it. At the races you can hear it, at the dogfights too, every shrieking, dancing drover as the canines topple over, yells applause to Gripple Rover, give him Dandaloo! And the teamster, slowly toiling through the deep black country soiling, wheels and axes too, lays the whip on spot and banker, rouses tarboy with a flanker, Redmond Ginger heave their yanker, wade in Dandaloo. And that was published in the Bulletin on the 29th of August, 1891. Oh, here we go, a little cute one called 10 Little Jackaroos. 10 little jackaroos at riding wished to shine. One rode the corkscrew colt, and then there were 9. 9 little jackaroos mending up a gate. One knew how to use the adze, and then there were 8. 8 little jackaroos riding home at even. One took a shortcut, and then there were 7. 7 little jackaroos playing up their tricks. One kicked the boss's dog, and then there were 6. 6 little jackaroos learnt to bullock drive. One stroked the bullock's leg, and then there were 5. 5 little jackaroos baking in a store. One mistook the arsenic tin, and then there were 4. 4 little jackaroos went to fell a tree. One waited till she cracked, and then there were 3. 3 little jackaroos, feeling rather blue, started hitting beers to leg, and then there were 2. 2 little jackaroos learnt to fight like fun. One fought the shearer's cook, and then there was 1. 1 little jackaroo working all alone. He learnt some common sense, and then there were none. Oh dear, poor jackaroos. They all got, I don't know. Here's another one. As long as your eyes are blue. Wilt thou love me, my sweet, when my hair is grey and my cheeks have lost their hue? When your charms of youth shall have passed away, will your love as of old prove true? For the looks may change and the heart may range, and the love be no longer fond. Wilt thou love the truth in the years of youth, and away to the years beyond? Ah, I love you, sweet, for your locks of brown, and the blush on your cheek that lies, but I love you most for the kindly heart that I see in your sweet blue eyes. For the eyes are signs of the soul within, of the heart that is leal and true, and mine own sweetheart, I shall love you still, just as long as your eyes are blue. For the locks may bleach and the cheeks of peach may be reft of their golden hue, but mine own sweetheart, I shall love you still, just as long as your eyes are blue. That was published in the Bulletin on the 7th of November, 1891. Here we go. This one's called Been There Before. There came a stranger to Walgett Town when the sun was low, and he carried a thirst that was worth a crown, yet how to quench it he did not know. But he thought he might take these yokels down, the guileless yokels of Walgett Town. They made him a bet in a private bar when the talk was high, and they bet him some pounds, no matter how far he could pelt a stone, yet he could not shy. A stone right over the river so brown, the darling river at Walgett Town. He knew that the river from bank to bank was 50 yards, and he smiled a smile as he trundled down, but his hopes they sank, for there wasn't a stone within 50 mile. For the salt bush plain and the open down produced no quarries in Walgett Town. The yokels laughed at his hopes o'erthrown as he stood a while like the man in a dream. Then out of a pocket he fetched a stone and pelted it over the silent stream. He had been there before. He had wandered down on a previous visit to Walgett Town. Well, there you go. Clever dude, hey? He'd been there before and they got him once, but not the second time. Published in the Bulletin on the 19th of December, 1891. This was also published on the 19th of December, and it's called The Open Steeplechase. I'd ridden over hurdles up the country once or twice, by the side of Snowy River with a horse they call the Ace. And we brought him down to Sydney, and our rider, Jimmy Rice, got a fall and broke his shoulder, so they nabbed me in a trice. Me, that never wore the colours for the open steeplechase. Make the running, said the trainer. It's your only chance whatever. Make it hot from start to finish, for the old black horse can stay. And just think of how they'll take it when they hear on Snowy River that the country boy was plucky and the country horse was clever. You must ride for old Monaro and the mountain boys today. Are you ready? Said the starter as we held the horses back, all ablazing with impatience, with excitement all aglow. Before us like a ribbon stretched the steeplechasing track, and the sun rays glistened brightly on the chestnut and the black as the starter's words came slowly. Are you ready? Go! Well, I scarcely knew we'd started. I was stupid, like, with wonder, till the field closed up beside me and a jump appeared ahead. And we flew it like a hurdle, not a balk and not a blunder, as we charged it all together. And it fairly whistled under. Then some were pulled behind me, and a few shot out and led. So we ran for half the distance. And I'm making no pretences when I tell you I was feeling very nervous-like and queer. Those jockeys rode like demons. You would think they'd lost their senses if you saw them rush their horses at those rapping 5-foot fences. And in place of making running, I was falling to the rear. Till a chap came racing past me on a horse they call the Quiver. And he said, my country joker, are you going to give it best? Are you frightened of the fences? Does the stoutness make you shiver? Have they come to breeding cowards by the side of Snowy River? Are there riders on Monaro? But I never heard the rest. For I drove the ace and sent him just as fast as he could pace it at the big black line of timber, stretching fair across the track, and he shot beside the quiver. Now I said, my boy will race it, you can come with Snowy River. You're only game to face it, let us mend the pace a little, we'll see who cries a crack. So we raced away together and we left the others standing, and the people cheered and shouted as we settled down to ride. And we clung beside the quiver at his takeoff and landing. I could see his scarlet nostril and his mighty ribs expanding, and the ace stretched out in earnest, and we held him stride for stride. But the pace was so terrific that they soon ran out their tether. They were rolling in their gallop, they were fairly blown and beat. But they both were game as pebbles, neither one would show the feather. And we rushed them at the fences, and they cleared them both together nearly every time they clouded, but somehow they kept their feet. Then the last jump rose before us, and they faced it game as ever. We were both at spur and whipcord, fetching bloods at every bound. And above the people's cheering and the cries of ace and quiver, I could hear the trainers shouting, one more run for Snowy River. Then we struck the jump together and came smashing to the ground. Well, the quiver ran to blazes, but the ace stood still and waited, stood and waited like a statue while I scrambled on his back. There was no one next or near me, for the field was fairly slated, so I cantered home a winner with my shoulder dislocated, while the man that rode the quiver followed limping down the track. And he shook my hand and told me that in all his days he never met a man who rode more gamely, and our last was set to prime. And we wired them on Monaro how we chanced to beat the quiver, and they sent us back an answer, good old sort from Snowy River, send us word each race you start in, and we'll back you every time. Yeah, well, there you go. That's a happy one too. You won at the end, although the horses didn't come off too well by the looks of it. Neither did old Banjo with a dislocated shoulder by the sound of it. All right, have I got another one for you, Bigo? The Mountain Station. I bought a run a while ago on country rough and ridgy where wallaroos and wombats grow, the upper Murrumbidgee. The grass is rather scant, it's true, but this a fair exchange is. The sheep can see a lovely view by climbing up the ranges. And She Oak Flats, the station's name, I'm not surprised at that, sirs. The oaks were there before I came, and I supplied the flats, sirs. A man would wonder how it's done. The stock so soon decreases, they sometimes tumble off the run and break themselves in pieces. I've tried to make expenses meet, but wasted all my labours. The sheep the dingoes didn't eat were stolen by the neighbours. They stole my pears, my native pears, those thrice convicted felons, and ravished from me unawares my crop of paddy melons. And sometimes under sunny skies without an explanation, the Murrumbidgee used to rise and overflow the station. But this was caused, as now I know, when summer, sunshine glowing, had melted all Kiandra's snow and set the river going. And in the news, perhaps you read, stock passings, Puckawidgee, fat cattle 700 head swept down the Murrumbidgee. The destination's quite obscure, but somehow there's a notion, unless the river falls, they're sure to reach the Southern Ocean. So after that, I'll give it best, no more with fate or battle. I'll let the river take the rest, for those were all my cattle. And with one comprehensive curse, I close my brief narration and advertise it in my verse. For sale, a mountain station. And that was published in the Bulletin on the 19th of December, 1891. All right, we got the Pannikin Poet, and this is the first of his poems from 1892, and this will be the last one for the evening. So make sure, if you haven't already done it, you give it a thumbs up and you've left a comment. Tell me, what did you enjoy and what don't you like? All right, the Pannikin Poet. Do you like my voice, maybe? Do you like my poems? Do you like Banjo Paterson? Who would you like to hear next week? There, write that down. A pannikin, that's like one of those metal cups that you drink out of that are enamelled. There's nothing here sublime, but just a roving rhyme run off to pass the time with naught titanic in. The theme that it supports, and though it treats of courts, is bare of golden thoughts. It's just a pannikin. I think it's rather hard that each Australian bard, each one poetic card with his thoughts galvanic in, his fiery soul alight with wild aerial flight, will sit him down and write about a pannikin. He makes some new chum fair from out his English lair to hunt the native bear, that curious mannikin. And when the times get bad, that wandering English lad writes out a message sad upon his pannikin. Oh, mother, think of me beneath the wattle tree, for you may bet that he will drag the wattle in. Oh, mother, here I think that I shall have to sink. There ain't a single drink the water bottle in. The dingo homeward hies, the sooty crows uprise and call their fierce surprise, a tone satanic in, and bearded bushmen tread around the sleeper's head. See here, the bloke is dead now. Where's his pannikin? They read his words and weep and lay him down to sleep where wattle branches sweep, a style mechanikin. And reader, that's the way the poets of today spin out their little lay about a pannikin. And that was published on 28th of May, 1892 in the Bulletin. All right, well, that's it from Chillin Tuesday. You stay tuned tomorrow night for Wednesday Words. And yeah, thank you very much. I'm Thundercloud, washing away the garbage, leaving rainbows after the rains. Thank you for joining me on Chillin Tuesdays Poetic Games. See you later.